So you can definitely see that wobble once it's spinning. It's pretty obvious. Alright, so I just, actually a few hours ago I just got this pulled off, but I came back out because I wanted to turn off the air compressor because I didn't turn that off, so I don't want it to like leak down and constantly recharge itself back up because they can eventually burn out. The motors will go out if you leave them on, if they have like a slow leak. But anyways, I came out here, originally I was gonna film myself doing this, but I came out and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just take off the intake manifold and then I'll go grab the camera. And then fucking, I just couldn't stop. Tearing it apart. So I got this convenient ass box laying on top of my Camaro for all the parts. So here's a valve cover, gasket, distributor, spark wires, spark plugs. It almost looks like it was running a little lean, but it wasn't overheating, so I don't know. So I need a AFR gauge so I can get the fucking air fuel right. I just got heaps of bolts and shit. My nitrous injector plate sitting everywhere. These solenoids. My dad like bought this thing when I was like 11 or 12, so obviously I didn't know too much about cars or anything. So it was kind of funny like tearing this down. It was kind of like opening a Christmas present because I had no idea like what the fuck would be in it, and like the dude put some nice parts in here. I'm like, yep. Oh god. Don't want to lose that. Anyway, yeah, so I got these fucking aluminum roller rockers, which is fucking dope. It's really cool. Oh, God. I actually already fucking lost one of these. I mean, it's not lost, it's in my Camaro somewhere. I dropped it, and I gotta fucking fish that thing out. But anyway, it's kind of neat, because I had really no idea, like, what would be in here, or, like, how shitty the heads would be. I thought the heads were gonna be, like, kind of trash, just like basic like pickup heads, but they're actually fucking pretty nice. Like these are pretty decent sized intake ports. And sadly, I mean it's a good news, but also like bad news. Like the intake ports already look ported slightly. I mean there's definitely more that can be taken off, but not as much as I was hoping. But I can still mill the heads, and I can still port a little bit. And the exhaust ports can definitely be ported, and the intake manifold can be ported. The intake manifold's pretty dope. This thing's light as hell, it's aluminum. The fucking cast iron intake manifolds are so fucking heavy. Oh boy, I got all my head bolts laying here. And then, I don't know if most of you guys know this or not, but these are my push rods, and you want to keep them in order because you want to put them in the exact same spot where they came from, because they kind of like mate. They like mate with like the lifters here, and like the lifters kind of like mate with the camshaft. So if you put like a lifter from like this side like over there, a lot of times they'll have like microscopic like grooves in the bottom of them, so they're used to like that one lobe on the cam that they sit on. So sometimes if you mix them around, the grooves, like the microscopic grooves on the cam lobes or the microscopic grooves on the lifters will eat at the cam, or the cam will eat at the lifters, and then your cam will get chewed up and fuck your cam up, among other things. So you want to put all the valve train parts in the same spot that they came from. You can see my pistons here. Also, I have really no idea like what kind of pistons these are. Like the dude said, the pistons are like basic forged pistons, like just your cheapest forged pistons you can get basically. And I think only the pistons are forged, like the crankshaft and rods are probably just cast, but whatever. Not planning on revving this thing to the moon anyway. So I'm actually pretty happy. I have the head that I pulled off over here. This thing actually has way bigger fucking intake ports than I thought. Those are actually decently sized. They're actually really nice sized for what I thought I was gonna have. I thought they were just gonna be like quite a bit smaller than that, so that's dope. Obviously the intake ports are the big ones, because the intake, the air fuel, gets sucked in through vacuum, whereas the exhaust just gets pushed out. So you want bigger intake valves, because the vacuum isn't as strong of a force as a piston pushing the air out of a valve. So ideally you want big intake valves and not so much big exhaust valves, but I'm pretty happy with the valve size on it. Okay, so I have no idea how I didn't notice that in the earlier clip I just showed, but when I showed you guys the head, there was an obvious scuff or mark on one of the exhaust valves. It ended up, this exhaust valve's for, this cylinder right here, and somehow the exhaust valve had been hitting the piston. You can see that is aluminum from the piston, that little silvery-ish mark. Then you can see the same mark on the piston in there, so the exhaust valve was definitely hitting the piston, which is no bueno, which is not very good at all, because that can end in catastrophic failure of your engine. You can snap your valve and then it'll just drop into the cylinder, and piston will chew it up and break itself and scuff up the bore and everything. So very bad things can happen when your valve hits the piston, but luckily it's just barely tapping it. And the only real thing it did was it slightly bent this, which you can't really see just by holding it, but if I'll put on the drill later, if I put on a drill and spin it, you can see it's definitely bent. Alright, here I have my valve plugged into this little drill so you can see the bend on it. You can't really see it otherwise. So you can definitely see that wobble once it's spinning. It's pretty obvious. So that's actually quite a bit of a bend. It's nothing insane, but it doesn't take much to ruin the seal on the valve seat. When it's bent, it doesn't seat right. So the only real damage it did was, besides a little scuff on the piston, which isn't not really a big deal. I'm just gonna have to make sure the piston isn't cracked at all. I don't think it is, but I'll also have to clean it up a bit and look for any cracks. But anyway, the only big thing it did was the valve wasn't sealing on the cylinder head, so when it closed, since it was slightly bent, it wasn't sealing, so a good bit of compression was just flying straight out past the exhaust valve. So it's kind of good news that I found it, for one, before it got any worse, and also once it's fixed, I'll have a little more power, because it was obviously leaking some compression out. It could have been a lot worse. It's pretty crazy to me. And the crazy part is, because I did those runs right before in the video I posted before this, I did those 0 to 60 runs and everything right before I pulled the heads off. My 0 to 60 was pretty good, I thought. It was my best was a little over 5.3 seconds, and that was with fucking this leaky valve. So didn't even have full power, because obviously a lot of the power is leaking out of the exhaust valve. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm definitely gonna have some pretty good gains once everything's good to go. I have really no idea why this hit, because usually the exhaust valve, usually if any valve will hit, it'll be the intake valve. Usually the exhaust valve is a mile away from getting hit. And my cam has a pretty high lift. I really don't know my cam specs, because we never asked the guy that. I was 10 when we got this thing, so I don't even know what the fuck to ask the guy. But I don't know the exact cam specs, but I'm sure it's over half-inch lift. So pretty high lift, which is probably obviously part of the reason it impacted, but also I kind of think that the timing chain is off one tooth for the cam, because you have to time your cam in with the crankshaft, so your valves are opening and closing at the right time. So I kind of think the cam timing is off a tooth or two on the timing sprocket. So hopefully it's just that. Just have to readjust the cam timing. So hopefully that'll be pretty easy fix. Okay, so also I just got the first head to the machine shop. My dad is friends with one of the guys that works at this machine shop in town, and he's gonna let me use the tools in his shop, which is awesome, because obviously they have perfect porting tools, and he's gonna show me how to mill them and stuff. So that'll be really cool. And also we measured my valves for you guys that know about small block Chevys. So my intake valves were the 202s, which is the biggest intake valves you can fit. They're realistically biggest you can fit on a head that's not aftermarket. 2.02 inches across, and then the exhaust valves, they aren't the biggest. You can fit a 1.6 something inch for the biggest exhaust valves. These are the 1.5s. So I'll be able to get bigger exhaust valves in also, which is good, because I have to replace this thing anyway, so I can get the 1.6s. So it's definitely gonna be a lot of gains with how much shit was wacky with this thing. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really glad nothing bad happened, and it's pretty crazy to me that this thing hauled ass as much as it did with the fucking bent valve. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. There's definitely gonna be more videos coming out. I've been pretty busy lately, but I'm gonna, really try and get more than one video a week out for you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. I'd appreciate that very much. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed, you definitely should. And if you're still on the fence about subscribing, you should definitely go check out some of my other videos, because we have some good ones. All right, with all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.